everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Connecting Greeks podcast. I am Ari, and I am here with my two favorite people. Favorite number one, Foti Stamos. What's going on, Foti?
How's it going, Ari?
I'm
Today I'm
doing
one.
pretty. What?
Today I'm number one. Yesterday I was
Today,
number
today,
two.
today you're number one. But you know why? Because I say save the best for last. Angelo
Wow.
Tarujas, what's up, man?
Yeah, like Fonty said earlier, he liked it better when I was on mute. But he goes, that was a better interview for everybody. Maybe some people need to be on mute. How you doing, guys? Good. I'm good to see you guys.
Good,
Don't we?
good to see you, Angelo.
I hope everything's been going good here. We've been Connecting Greeks podcast. Again, what we're doing, we're connecting Greeks. Some of the most interesting people from around the world of Hellenic origin. And today's guest is no exception to that. He's a dear friend of mine who I've known for years, who's written a book, and I started to read it, and I'm telling you, man, this is a deep thought. It's well done. Before I even say what the book's called, I'm gonna read you the Randy Macho Man Savage on Macho Men. Okay,
Story time.
so it's okay for macho men to show every emotion available. I've cried 1,000 times. I'm gonna some more, but I've soared with the eagles. I've slithered with the snakes, and I've been everywhere in between. I'm gonna tell you something right now, brother. There's one guarantee in life, and that there are no guarantees. Yeah, and understand this: nobody likes a quitter. Nobody said life was easy. So if you get knocked down, you take the standing 8 count, you get back up, and you fight again. That's the Macho Man. Dig it? Macho Man. I want to introduce with that my guest, the author of The Sales Bit, Chris Mustakas. Hey, Chris, welcome to Connecting Greeks.
Hey, Angie. Hey, everyone. How are you, Fotios? Thanks.
Doing it, so.
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Thank
This
you
is
for
great.
joining us.
Now, I met Chris. I'm going to give a little background, Chris, before we get. I met Chris years ago up in Ottawa, Canada. And I can say the name of the team you used to work for.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
work for the Ottawa Senators of the National Hockey League. It's all right. And I like this professional sports sales. It was the ultimate dream job until it wasn't. And Chris, I met, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, you're originally from Windsor, Ontario, or London?
Waterloo, Ontario.
Waterloo, Ontario. It's in the middle there.
Yeah.
And I met Chris in Ottawa. I believe we were a HEPA members at one point.
I think so. But you and I, we emceed Greek Fest
We
for
emceed
the
Greek Fest.
church.
And then Chris got this great idea, one of the first ones ever, if I'm not mistaken, to do a Hellenic Heritage Night at the Ottawa Senators Hockey Club.
That's right.
In the National Hockey League game. So it was pretty cool. Another proud Greek, and he worked. And it's funny because, so Chris, I have to ask you, and this is for you. People have this, people would love to work for a MLB team, NHL team, NFL team, NBA team. There's some prestige attached to it for sure. Especially if you're a sports fan. And I love the way you talk about it. And the quote in your book starts off with the Macho Man saying, "I've cried 1,000 times." And you deal a lot in this book. And this is what I really liked when your mom gave me the copy of your book at my show in Kitchener, Ontario. Love your mom, beautiful lady. Hi, Mom.
Say hello.
And then the thing is this, it's that you deal a lot with men's mental health issues, which we can say, I'm not trying to make it sound, that it's all pro-male, but the truth is, it's something I think a lot of people forget, is that, everybody's human. I think everybody's mental health state of health is important, everyone's. But especially for men, and going into something like this inspired you to write the book. Tell us how this came about. We're curious.
Well, you hit it on the head, right? Everyone thought, oh, wow, you work for a professional sports team. You must get to go all the games, meet all the players, get to do all of these fun things. And for the most part, absolutely, that's true. You do get to go to games. However, you are usually standing in the aisles waiting for a puck to go over the glass or a stoppage so that you can go say hi to your client for 3 seconds before you run off. It takes its toll because for hockey, as an example, we have 41 home games. So that's 41 games that you are not at home with your family, with your wife or your husband or your kids. It's probably another 20 other events that you have throughout the year where it's a season ticket holder pickup event or a family skate or a dinner, fundraiser dinner, or all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of shine associated with professional sports. But when you sort of peel back the layers of it, it is far more than just going to hockey games, meeting the players. You're away from your family, 41 home games at least. We did the calculation. When you factor in the time that it takes from, 5 o'clock until game time, or on the weekends when you're working, or all of these events, we worked an extra 30 days a year. So in addition to the 41 home games that we were playing 9 to 5, all that kind of stuff, it was an additional month of work that you're away from your family, you're away from your kids, you're missing certain things that you really don't want to miss. So that's what the book is about. It's about the choices that we make where we're chasing a dream, but in reality, it's not really our dream, because if the team wins the Stanley Cup or the championship, no one really talks about the salespeople or the marketing people that are making all of this happen, that are selling the tickets, that are doing all of these things, right? So it's really, the goal of the book was to identify some of the challenges that people face. And I will preface this by saying that the book was written about a time that no longer exists. Thankfully, our society has grown. We are now more aware of mental health challenges. It's more prevalent in the news. It's more out there. And there's a lot of people that are starting to talk about it, but we aren't there yet. And what's really, really cool about the book is when I published it, I started getting emails and phone calls and messengers from people that I worked with or people that I've never worked with. And they said, Chris, you're speaking words that I have never been able to speak myself. I worked in professional sports for a different team for 15 years, and I haven't worked in 15 years in that industry. But you're giving words to the thoughts that have been living in my head, and it's just really refreshing that I don't feel alone. I'm not the only person that feels like this. So that's kind of the reality of professional sports is, yes, it was the ultimate dream job. I was the huge fan. I went to every game. I went to the Outdoor Winter Classic when it was in Buffalo. I went to, sports. I wanted to be at the event. But when you start working in professional sports, you start seeing things in a completely different light. Holy crap, that's an entire empty section. Why didn't we sell those tickets? Or that rink board is the same thing as it's been for the last 4 games, or those kinds of things. So you start seeing it from a business perspective, right? And at the end of the day, it's a business, and it doesn't really factor in the relationships that you've made, but the relationships that you make working there are the most important thing. It's not about the deals. That's what I say in the book. It's not about the deals. It's about the people that stand with you and that really support you in ways that you ultimately need.
Now, Chris, let me ask you, and that was well said what you just said. Now, can we factor in the Greek factor now?
Sure.
Miklas, don't cry.
Fair enough.
Don't show your emotions. Okay, guys, am I right? It's like, so now I get it. Last year I was on the road 291 days. Like, all of us got families. We do what we got. It's on our backs. As in any partnership, in any relationship, you try to provide for your family. You try to do the best for your family, right?
Absolutely.
So now we got to put this fucking Greek factor into it. Miklas, don't cry. We don't do that. That's not what you do. So you suppress, but sometimes, and I like what you just said, we all need an outlet. And like you said, you're not only working all day, sometimes 7 days a week, because hockey doesn't have, or any professional sports, there's no Monday to Friday. They play every fucking day of the week whenever they play. So factor that into it. You're doing these special events, which I know I remember coming with you to some of them, a part of them. And then so now you haven't been home all day. Now you have an event all night. By the time you get home, it's what, 1 in the morning, 12:30,
Yeah.
for whatever. You can't sleep. You got to be up again at 6, 7 in the morning. Try to maybe make some cereal for your kids, and then that mounts up on you. And you're a good example of someone who identified with that and said, "Look." But my question to you now, I'm sure Adi and Forti feel the same way. Throw the Greek factor into it. And I know you want to talk about this. Because we're brought up to be scasa. You're the fucking man. You gotta fucking deal with it. Okay, me class.
Yeah, it's a deeply ingrained sense of pride and strength and stoicism. All of our Greek heroes are positioned as these strong, silent, strong people, strong men, and you're expected to be tough. You don't hear about stories about, the story of Marathon is a guy that ran, under horrendous circumstances to do something heroic, right? So we are providers, we are heroes, we are taught to be tough and to never show weakness. And this has happened to generations of Greeks, and not just generations of Greeks, but generations of humans.
People.
And we've been raised to believe that our emotions are private. You're not supposed to ask for help. You're not supposed to show weakness or to cry, like you said. And it's even shameful to be that. You're seen as a weakness because you don't, hey, get your emotions in check, right? That's not how it works here. And the idea of this book is not just in professional sports. It's in every sort of job that has high pressure. It could be sales. It could be your job, Ange. It could be anyone's job where you're told to do a certain job, even though you're not feeling it, or you just, yeah, I'm tired, but I have to go on. I have to do this. And I'm not going to say anything because this is my job, because I need to provide, because I need to do all of those things. And it's a vicious cycle. So, and that's how our grandfathers were and how our dads were and how we are positioned to be. But it's really important. And I think this book is an example of it, that you have to unlearn all of the bullshit that you've been taught over the years.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that what you were taught was wrong. It's to say that there's other ways of looking at things so that we can just move forward in a positive way. And it's okay for us to do certain things, and it's actually courageous to show your emotions and to ask for help. And the alternative is that you die. Basically, that's the alternative. You work yourself to the bone, or you lose yourself, or you lose whatever, right?
I'm laughing because it's so final what you said, but so true. What's your option? Die.
That's it.
I mean, it's true. And then he was quiet, he was silent, he wasn't. But you're right. It's like, that's why I like, when I started reading your book, I realized another metaphor and I like how you put it, right, guys? It doesn't matter what the job is. I think we all feel that way sometimes. And I think, and like you said, your friend called you saying, "Hey man, I felt like this."
Yeah.
Or you touched on good topics of things that people were like, we live in a world now where we got to be careful with what we say, how we say it, how we present it, even as a comic, as an author, even as a podcast. It's like we can say things, and I've always told people this. Well, as a comic, I can say it, but then I got to deal with the repercussions and consequences. Right. So you got to be aware of it. As long as you're aware of it, and I think, and that's why with our podcast with Adi and Forti, we like bringing guests like you on, because it goes beyond a little bit of just talking about working for a professional organization. I think a lot of times people will listen to a podcast, any podcast, to see if they can connect to something. And yours, with the sales pit, and I remember the when you were working for them, and it is a lot of work. And the best part is this: a lot of times, and is thankless. You do. Nobody says good job. Yeah,
that's the best part.
It's thankless. They don't. Nobody says, "Hey, good job." And I look. Sometimes I'll do a show on a ship. I work on certain ships, 1,000 people, and as they say, you slay the dragon. And sometimes not you just want to hear, hey, good set or something.
That's it. Yeah.
Archidia. They don't say nothing to you.
Well,
You get off the thing. Oh, I gotta go now. We're gonna hear it. Fuck you. So it's like, and I'm thinking, I'm at a point now where I've been doing this long enough where I get it. I don't need a hand but sometimes something you say to somebody, nice, just a little, hey, I liked
goes a
your
long way.
Hey, Adi, I like the way you do the podcast. Hey, Forte, I like a little bit goes a long way. Trust me, it does. But we live in a society of acharisti, ungrateful fucks, and sometimes we forget to tell people, "Hey,
Well,
good for you."
Angela, if I can add to what
Sure.
Chris is saying, right? As Greek Americans growing up with dads and grandparents who they ran their own businesses. To your point, Chris, very stern, no emotions. Whether the pressure was on at the restaurants, things were falling apart, no emotions, stone cold, stone faced all the time.
Stoic.
Right. And then when you would work for your parents, like we all did, and to your point, Angelo, it was never bravo pedimo. It was always like, what else can you do? Why aren't you
Always.
doing this? Can you do more? You can't go to soccer practice. You got to work on the weekends. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So we live that, and then that was embedded in us growing up in our professional careers, where we also act the same way, whether it's to our staff or to our kids, about doing more than you're expected, and not realizing what you just said, Angelo. Maybe from time to time, a pat in the back or say, "Hey, thank you, that was great," goes a long way.
It does. Adi, what do you think?
I think, Chris, you just opened up some floodgates.
That's good.
I think you opened up some floodgates, which is absolutely like amazing, because when you touch upon a subject that I know that Angelo Foti and I are like, we could talk for like 3 hours right now about just what you said. I know that you what you're doing and the book that you wrote is absolutely valid and necessary for the men out there. So
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
Totally.
you. I appreciate that. And let's also, it's to your point, yes, when I graduated university, my papu said, "All right, that's great. When are you getting your master's? When are you getting your doctorate?" And I'm just like, "Can
It's
I just
never
have
enough.
2 seconds to fucking breathe, please?" Like, it was just like, but it was always that, I came to Canada so that I worked my ass off so that I could provide a better life for my family, right? So there was always the expectation that you would be providing for the next generation, putting them and setting them up in a better spot than you were. And that's very, very noble, but it is never, it's always thankless. And the book also talks about burnout. It talks about, all right, you've worked your ass to the bone. You feel like you don't have anything left, and you become less of who you were. And now you're not recognized by your family or your kids. And there's a reason why, of the 15, 20 people that I worked with in my department, almost half of us got divorced, myself included, because you're not there. And looking back now, I could be like, holy shit, what did I do? Why did I do this? I was chasing a Stanley Cup ring for the chance of winning a cup ring. And even if we won, it didn't mean that we would have got something to show for it, right? So it's really a lot about that. And there's one thing that I would like to say about that one thing that is said that sort of inspires you or motivates you. So one of my old clients from the Sens, him and I are still Facebook friends, and I saw his post, and he said that he had cancer and it was coming back. And I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, can I come over and just shoot the shit with you, talk just like kind of like what we're doing right now? I'll only be 20 minutes. We'll only talk for a little bit. We don't have to talk about anything other than whatever you want to talk about." That turned into 3 hours. And he talked to me about how he loves reading and he loved hockey and he loved going fishing with his dad and all of these kinds of things. And he said, "I love reading suspense novels." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm writing a book. I've been writing this for years, and it's about my time in professional sports." And he's like, "I need to tell you that you need to write this book." He says, "Chris, I don't have family. So when I die next month, my stories die with me, and my stories are going to be buried 6 feet underground. And that had such a profound
Yeah.
impact on me. That was January 7th. Okay. January 7th, I went home and I looked at what I had written. And from January 7th until February 13th, I wrote 537 pages in this book.
Wow.
So that's how it was motivated. That's what I was motivated. I wanted to be finished so that I could show him that, you know, he inspired me and all this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, he died right before it was published, but in the book itself, I do mention that. I do mention his name and say, this is what motivated me. He doesn't have family, but this is his story, and this is why it's important. So that anyone that you touch, anyone that comes into your life touches you in a certain way, either for a reason or a season, my mom always says, right? And, you know, for me, it was 5.5 seasons of work in professional sports. And thankfully, I got out of it. And a lot of the characters that are in this book are based on people that I worked with. They're a mesh of people. They're not exclusively one person. They're not exclusively another, except for my character, which as soon as you read the book, you start learning, okay, this is obviously Chris because he likes fancy shirts and fancy shoes, and he's very out there and he's creative and all this kind of stuff. So like that's kind of neat. But it's really, really cool to hear from people, and God bless her, my girlfriend last Saturday threw me a surprise book launch party. And I had no idea what the hell was going on, but she brought me there. And I walk up the stairs, and Christ, guys, it was like I had reached the gates of heaven, because I walked up the stairs to this platform, and there were 60 people that came to this event, right? Former colleagues, friends, my softball team, my family, my kids, my girlfriend's family, my ex-wife and her husband, like all of these people came out to support the book. And it was just like what you'd expect heaven to be like. Everyone's there to cheer you on and to give you hugs and all this kind of stuff. And that was very, very validating. As shitty as the time was that cost me my career and cost me my sense of self, it has its advantages, because now I can look at it from a very positive perspective, and I am making change, and I am able to talk about this a lot easier than I was, and it's encouraging other people to talk about it. I love getting these messages from my colleagues, and they're like, my wife's asking me what I'm giggling about. I'm like, oh, what are you giggling about? He's like, I remember that fucking trip. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes. I'm like, so this is a good book? He's like, this is fucking awesome. So like that's kind of what I'm really excited about.
But isn't it good that you can touch people in that sense, where even now, like even you with me, Fortinati, just discussing it now, unlock things that were, and for us, it's even a step more, because our parents weren't like born here. They came from another place. So listen, you give them credit because they had to overcome their own obstacles. But which is great. But you know, my daughter's 12 years old, and next week I just got back. We're going to take a trip. We're going to Greece and Armenia. I booked 3 weeks off. In the 3 weeks, I've had offers to do. I said, guys, we got to book everything around this. In the past, I would have said, no, I got to work. I go, listen, she's going to be 12 once. And I have a wife, and they're excited to go. And I realize, yes, it's important to work. It's important to make money. It's important to provide. But at the same time, I think we beat the shit out of ourselves. We don't know when to stop. So I'm like, you know what? No, I said, I told them, I told the agents, I told these other people, 3 weeks. I got 3 weeks. I'm taking the family. We're doing a run. We're going to go to Greece. We're going to go to Armenia. I want my daughter to see it. My wife's Armenian, the whole thing, whatever. It doesn't matter. I said, I need to do this. And I think your book, from what I'm starting to read on it, it's almost like that. You're saying, look, these things are important. We get it. We know there's pressure. We know all that stuff. But you got to have, and I dare I say it, it sounds so California, me time. But it's true. And I think we need to take a break. There's days I'm in a shitty mood. All of us. My wife goes, what's wrong? I'm just fucking, everything. I just traveled here. I did this to that. it's okay. You do it, and then you say to yourself, okay, take a break. Everything can wait around it. And I think when you just said it now, Chris, you said, I learned now. It's like being in heaven. All your friends and family are there. Even your ex came and everybody else came. And they're looking at this going, okay, so yeah, all these things are important, but your mental health and how it affects you and your family and your friendships is also just as important, if not more important than this. But it's that Greek. Fuck, I'm saying we're proud Greeks, but like you said, your grandfather, a graduate, the Paisto Masters. You can become the Prime Minister of Canada. You know, and you know, Greeks always say, don't spend your money. Some of these fuckers got millions and they won't spend it. They're in the diner. They're going to die in the diners. They fuck it. Live up with them. No. Yes, you have to. I think, and as I'm reading it, I can kind of see where the direction's going. You're looking for harmony and balance.
Yeah, you're looking for harmony and balance, but oftentimes we don't have the ability that you just showed to be able to say, you know what, I'm putting my family first. I'm going for 3 weeks and I'm shutting my phone off or whatever. And often it's too late. It's too late that we're either completely jaded, we're either too jaded that no one wants to talk to us, or we don't have the same passion, or we have clinical depression or anxiety or PTSD or whatever we have that negatively impacts us. You know, I learned in this when I was reading this book or writing this book. You know, there's a doctor. I forget it. I forget his name, so I can't. I'm not going to even say it. But the body keeps score. So unless you process the trauma that is going on in your brain and your body, it's going to come back as chronic illness. It's going to come back as cancer or depression or whatever, and that shit stays with you for the rest of your life until you process it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to take the time, like you said, Ange, and spend the time with your family, because my daughter's 13, my son's 10. These are the formative years that we want to create core memories.
Right.
And unless it's, you know, unless there's something that I don't know, you know, we're only getting older and life is passing us by. So we have to really to take it by the. A friend of mine said you have to catch the tiger by its tail, and once you have it, you have to let it. You have to not let it go, and that's what was inspiration for this book as well. It's just I needed to finish it because I had been writing it for about 12 years, 13 years. It started off as a sitcom. Off as a sitcom, and no word of a lie, Ange, you were supposed to be. I had pictured you as the crazy boss, the guy that was just like yelling all the time, like just this animated Ange.
How he is with us.
Sorry?
That's how he is with us.
That's how he was with me. You know, but that's what we love about him. But over time, it became something more deep. And the end product is a book about mental health. It's a book about being okay to not be okay. And I am incredibly proud of the things that I have said in this book. And it's not an expose. I'm not saying that working for a professional sports team was absolute shit, because I felt like I did everything that I could possibly do working in professional sports other than win a Stanley Cup. I met great clients. I still have lifelong friends, good business partners, all of those kinds of things. And I can appreciate that. If it wasn't for that event, 5.5-year event, I wouldn't have met so-and-so who would have connected me to this person, who would have connected me to this person, who would have connected me to us. It's the 6 degrees of separation, obviously, right? So it's really, you know, as difficult as it was, you also have to take stock that everything happens for a reason. And I'm really,
isn't it
really
good though,
proud
Chris? Isn't it good you met your friend 3 hours and that rang the bell in your head like,
yeah,
I gotta finish this.
That's my legacy. This is my legacy. Now I have a book that I've published that has sold copies, that Angela has it, that, you know, other professional workers and salespeople have. And it's just, if I was told that if it changes one person's life, it's done a good job, right? So I've had 50 people reach out to me so far in the last month, say, hey, I've started reading your book. I read it in a weekend, or I read it and I couldn't put it down, or it was funny, it was tragic, it was this. I had no idea that this is what professional sports was like. And I'm very, very proud of being brave enough to explain what was going on in my head in a respectful way. Like I said, this was written about a time when, no word of a lie, I had just survived the NHL lockout. And our team went from 25 full-time staff down to 8. And the 8 of us did what 25 of us do in 2 months, we did in 2 weeks. So we were completely burnt out. We were spending the night at the office so that we could get back to and that was the expectation. Well, we'll bring in food so you don't have to leave. Okay, great. And after, I'm walking to the photocopier, and my boss, one of my bosses, he's like, Musty, you look like shit. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I feel like shit. And it was a time when it was appropriate, I guess, to put your hand on someone's neck and say, hey, you still got a pulse. You're still breathing. Get back to work.
Wow.
And this was fucking 10 years ago. Thankfully, this isn't the same organization. This isn't the same world that we live in, but this is what we were like. So whether or not it's a Greek dad or a Greek papu, or it's just someone from an older generation, it's not appropriate. So that's kind of what was going on.
Do I have your permission, Chris, to use you and cite you in your book when I start the revolution for men?
Yes, sir.
The revolution is coming.
It started here. It starts here. The 4 angry Greeks.
Yeah.
Well, here's the awesome book. I'm reading through it right now. Before we let you go, Chris, with one more tidbit. There's a nice tidbit about you. You have a very famous uncle.
Yes.
That all the Greeks know. Tell us a little bit about him.
So I had the privilege of meeting my great uncle, Sotiris Mustakas, a couple of years before he died. So he died in 2007. He was the youngest sibling of my grandfather on my dad's side. So, you know, he was in Zorba the Greek. Zorba the Greek is one of my favorite movies. You know, it seems weird to say that my grandfather or my great uncle was the village idiot on Crete, and that doesn't sound very good, but like that was his role on the movie, and that was like one of his first roles in '64, and
Quite a role.
It was great.
Quite a film to be on, the first film.
It's one of my favorite movies, man.
It's iconic.
It's iconic. Yeah. Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn, sorry. Yeah. So like it was really cool to see him. And yeah, he has a big influence. My uncle is an actor. My uncle has theaters. You know, I think that's why my grandparents were completely adamant that I'd not go into acting, because they're just like, we already have one. We don't need another one. So, but yeah, that's my great uncle Sotiris. And
wow, that's cool.
Good bit for people to know. Well, look, Chris, again, congratulations on the sales pit. It was great talking to people. A great read. I'm reading through it right now. I think this is a good topic of conversation. As you saw today, it was a fantastic show.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate this.
I want to say, Chris, I mean, extremely important topic and extremely, valid topic, and something that hits home. I mean, the second you started talking, I was like, dude, I want to sit here and just open up and just say so many things that I just can't do in my life. I mean, when I say start the revolution, I mean, that's not even a joke. How many men can find solace in what you're doing and what you're writing about? And I mean, maybe let's start a group. Let's do something. I mean, it's awesome.
I appreciate that more than I can equate in words too. I mean, it is really important to talk. It's important to say, I'm not doing well. Or if you know someone who's not doing well, ask if they are okay. Nice. Because we are human beings. We are emotional people. And I keep trying to tell myself, what would I want to tell my son if he was going through something like this, or my daughter, or what do I wish I was told when I was a kid? And it's really important to be okay with not being okay. It's okay to show emotions, like I start off the quote. And it's okay to just be yourself, and don't be apologetic for needing to take a step back or whatever. It's really, really important, and I hope that that message resonates. And the revolution, yes, I would love for this podcast to kick off other podcasts to talk about this, because it's not being talked about enough. And it's really important to be, all right, this is a difficult topic, but we'll get through it together as men, as family people, as men and women, because it's a universal experience. Because if you're the male trying to make it, it's also coming at the cost of your wife or your kids or your partner or whatever. So there's always an opportunity cost, right? So it's really important, and God willing, people start reading this and they resonate with it, and they reach out and they say, "Hey, I really liked this chapter," or "I really liked this message," or consequently, "I thought your book was shit." I would love to hear both of those things so that I can learn and I can grow.
Yeah.
But nobody has said, "Chris, this is a terrible book." Everyone has said, "I couldn't put it down. I really enjoy it. It's really, really fun. How do I get a copy?" And, you could order this on Amazon. You can search for The Sales Pit on Amazon. It's available on Amazon and 39,000 other online retailers. You can go to thesalespit.com and you can request an autographed copy. And I need to go to Los Angeles and sign
You're
your
going to
book.
LA. I want you to,
Hey,
you're going to
Chris.
sign it here when you come and see me in LA.
Can I ask
I
you,
love
Chris,
it.
Chris, ask a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Have you been asked to do a speaking session?
Not yet. No.
Is that something that might be in the pipeline?
It would absolutely, I would welcome that, because my undergrad is in speech communication. So I am a speechwriter and a public speaker by vocation, by trade, I guess. And I've written speeches. I've ghostwritten speeches for a prime minister. I've ghostwritten. I've given presentations in front of 5,000 people. So that is not something that I am scared of. And God willing, I hope that this opens up the opportunity to share my story and to share other people's stories, because, like I said, once we start talking, we realize that we're not alone.
Right.
And we realize that we're
Right.
all fucked up in some way, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
True.
Well, I think it lends to possibly have a session where an event type of deal where men come out and have a speaking session about what you've written.
I'm there. I'd be there.
I
2 seconds.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to schedule one for LA in maybe 3.5 years.
Forget about LA. How about Boston?
Yeah.
Boston, I love Boston. Boston's one of my favorite cities. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and to have a voice, because it is really I really enjoyed this, and I hope that it inspires people, and I hope it's something that people resonate with. And I didn't write this book to sell books. I'm thankful that I have a day job and that I just can do this and just let it grow organically.
Right.
But I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you. I look forward to sharing whatever content that we've generated today, and to give you all a much needed appreciation, because thank you for what you do. Thank you, Ange, for believing in this, and for agreeing to do this, or for inviting me, because this is just a very humbling experience. So I very much
Happy to have you on. The guys we're all happy you're on, Chris. And good.
Absolutely. I mean, it truly is something that hits home for me. And I know, if it hits home for me, it's probably going to hit home for so many people. So we said it before, what you're doing is very important. What you're doing is something men need. I mean, I need it. I know Foti needs it. I'm sure Angela's the same. And a lot of guys out there. So I say we keep the conversation going in the future and build off it and start that revolution. And I just want to say thank you for joining us, Chris.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody out there for watching and listening. And we're going to have all of Chris's information, links, everything in the show notes. So please check it out, support, buy, whatever it is, share it with somebody you think needs to hear about this. It's very important. It's really true to our needs as men. So thank you again, Chris. Thank you, Foti. Thank you, Angelo. Thanks everybody
Good
out
to
there.
have you
for
guys
watching and
on. See you
listening.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.